Fracked gas has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Fracked gas has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho.
Hi.
Fracked gas has got to go. I'm Mr. Heller. Hey, hey.
Ho, ho. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Fracked gas has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Fracked gas has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho.
Fracked gas has got to go.
So what's going on inside today?
Inside today is a hearing on a proposed power plant, natural gas power plant that is they're planning to produce here in Oxford, Connecticut. It's going to have a terrible impact on the environment, on the health of Oxford and neighboring towns, and on the real estate market as well. And I live in Woodbury, Connecticut, which is a neighboring town, but I'm only 3 miles away from the proposed power plant site. So I'm here to voice my opposition to the site, along with dozens more and hundreds down by the road, to let Toanic Power know that the people of Oxford and the neighboring towns do not want them here.
Now your sign talks about frack gas. How does that be involved in this?
The power plant would use gas that was fracked from other communities. It would be transported here and processed here. So in addition to the local impact, we look at this as another venue for the larger fight to move towards renewable fuel sources like solar and wind.
And the whole question of climate change, global warming, how does it fit in with that?
Well, renewable energy sources like solar and wind are obviously better for the climate. This particular power plant would emit CO2, and it would just be terrible for the environment in general. So we're hoping that they can get rid of this power plant, and if they need more energy for Connecticut, which they claim they do, that they can use renewable sources that are actually good for the environment.
Okay, Martha, what is your point of view on this question of this pipeline?
So the smaller question is, do we need these pipelines? Do we need this power plant? And the answer is obviously no. Everybody knows the power is not going to be used here. The gas that's coming through the Algonquin pipeline going through Oxford that they're expanding the compressor station for, that gas is not to be used here. The power that they're going to create from this power plant they want to build, that power is not going to be used here. So the smaller question is any of this needed? It is absolutely not needed. Connecticut is already a net exporter of energy, so it's not needed. The bigger question on why is any of this even happening, this is all because fracking has driven down the price of gas as well as the price of oil. We just happen to be protesting gas infrastructure, but we're also opposed to coal infrastructure and we're opposed to oil infrastructure. This is all happening to make profits for energy companies, and it's happening at the people's expense. They're destroying our climate. That's what all these methane emissions are going to do from the power plant and the pipelines. Natural gas is methane and it destroys the climate. We suffer. We pay the price. Connecticut paid $1 billion for Sandy and Irene and the unnamed 2011 nor'easter. We pay that. Spectra Energy doesn't pay that. CPV Toantic, the owner of the proposed power plant, doesn't pay that cost. We the people do. So the bigger question is, are we going to be able to take back our future, or are we going to sacrifice our entire future to the profit mongering and the greed of the energy industry? I say we're going to take back our future.
What about the claims that methane's a bridge to the future, a bridge to solar and other kinds of new technology?
So I could answer that in so many ways, but if any of that nonsense were true, first of all, destroying your climate can never be a bridge to anything other than destroying your climate. But if any of that were true, why wouldn't the state be shutting down the Harbor Point coal burning plant in Bridgeport? That only produces 1% of the electricity in the whole state. 1%. I mean, we also produce 1% domestically through wind and solar. In other words, we could so easily shut down that dirty, filthy power plant that's making people sick right now today in Bridgeport if we were serious about a bridge. That's total nonsense. There is no bridge concept. They're simply trying to build out the infrastructure as quickly as they can while the price of fracked methane is low and before the EPA regulates methane, which is about to happen. EPA just proposed in August of this year to start regulating methane emissions as a global greenhouse gas, which it is. So it's not a bridge to anything other than a total catastrophe. Furthermore, the public is paying for it. So we already in the state of Connecticut have been paying for these conversions that Eversource is doing. That they subsidize customers to convert to gas. They lie to them and tell them that it's a cleaner fuel, that it's a bridge, and then they invest our money in converting 300,000 customers, that's what Eversource is planning to do, from whatever other form of heat they have now to gas. So people aren't saving money because the price of oil just dropped also. They're certainly not protecting their health because frack gas, we have a lot of concerns about the trace chemicals that are left in frack gas, both the proprietary chemicals from the drilling as well as the norms, naturally occurring radioactive materials that come up from 2,000 feet underground. It's not a bridge to anything good. It's only a bridge to things that are bad that we pay for.
What's the local sentiment in Oxford about this?
So God bless the people of Oxford. They're really against this power plant, and they voted against a sweetheart tax deal that CPV, Competitive Power Ventures, proposed for the town. CPV's tax bill, when and if they build this power plant, will be about $17 million a year. They proposed a sweetheart deal to the town of Oxford that they would pay about $5 million a year, plus they would throw in a whole lot more for youth programs. Well, God bless the people of Oxford. They were way too smart to fall for that deal. Thank you, sir. And they voted that deal down. So CPV Atlantic does not get its sweetheart deal from the town of Oxford. The people of Oxford don't want this. Furthermore, the town of Middlebury, which borders Oxford and is also, close to where the power plant is going to be built, is actually suing the Connecticut Siting Council here in state court, along with 12 or more other plaintiffs. The town of Middlebury suing the Connecticut Siting Council for the approval of a permit for this power plant, the CPV power plant that's proposed, because Connecticut Siting Council, CSC, approved it under a 15-year-old permit that had been issued for a power plant half the size of this one that we're here talking about tonight. So they're being sued. So the local people don't want it in any way.
Can they block it? Is there a decision? Can they
Tonight, the Deep won't make their decision tonight. Tonight is our opportunity for the public to come out en masse, which you see that we have, to tell Deep, do not approve the air permits for this power plant. It absolutely is increasing air pollution. It absolutely will make people sick. It is not to our benefit, and we don't need the power. And furthermore, what's being produced here are methane emissions that Deep itself is not even measuring, and that are proposed, like I said, by EPA to be regulated, in the near future. So the people don't want this, and they're all against it. And by making this statement tonight, we are certainly hoping that Deep comes to the correct decision, which is to say these Title V air permits couldn't possibly be approved. How could they, the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, approve this huge polluting plan for Connecticut that does not benefit the people? That seems in violation of their very mission. So we don't know what will happen. Granted, Deep has already indicated a preliminary approval for these air permits, but we're hopeful. This is all the people have, because it's us arrayed up against the interests of organized money and the industry and the government, because our government here, Governor Malloy, virtually all the legislators in the state of Connecticut are behind this frack gas expansion plan that doesn't benefit the people but does destroy the climate. So it's a long shot, but we have hope. We have a lot of hope.
And I'm Phillip Dooley from Tolland, Connecticut, and this is not in my backyard. However, the global warming gases will cover the whole Earth from this plant, and we have to stop building any fossil fuel infrastructure that might continue to be used 20 to 30 years from now, which obviously this plant would want to continue operating. That scientists have predicted that if we wish to stay below a 2-degree warming, and other scientists argue that even 1.5 degrees is too much for our civilization to survive. But if we want to stay under 2 degrees, we have to stop building fossil fuel infrastructure now. We have to stop building any homes that are not zero energy. And we have to stop...
What do you mean by zero energy?
I mean not using any fossil fuels or external electricity to run them. And we have to stop manufacturing cars that use gasoline in order to get from one place to another, or diesel fuel.
So you think the situation is that grave?
The situation is that grave. Look up Dr. Hansen's latest paper. He is predicting a 10-foot sea level rise in as little as 50 years. It might take longer. It's very difficult to be sure. The glaciers sliding into the ocean, the dynamics of that was never included in the IPCC's projection of only 3 feet by 2100. The likely rise is far, far faster. It's an exponential rise. If we wait till we see it start rising, it's probably too late to stop it from rising by then. And once it goes up 10 feet in 50 years, of course that means in 60, it'll be up to 20 feet. This is a very rapid, and the storms will get much worse due to the cold water floating on the surface at the poles. Will make a much higher temperature difference and make the storms worse. Again, described in Dr. James Hansen's latest paper published during the summer on an open forum, open source. You can read the whole thing for free, no publication prices. So stop global warming now, or nothing else we do will matter.